calling all thriller girlies who like to read on their Kindle, like me. Today I have the complete list of any thriller book on Kindle Unlimited that is worth your time. Bold statement, I know. If you have any additions to this list, please comment them because I'm yet to add to it. So welcome back to Francesca's Books. My name is Francesca, these are my books, and here we talk about all things thriller books. And before I start with the Kindle Unlimited recommendations, I'm just going to quickly explain what Kindle Unlimited is for those who don't know. And it also goes without saying that all these books are fantastic recommendations, even if you're going to read them physically, which I have quite a lot of them in physical form. So on Kindle, you can of course buy books. They range from like 99p to maybe like £15, I don't know. But you can get some on Kindle Unlimited, and this is like a subscription service that works kind of like a library. So you pay, I think it's £9.50 at the moment, and then you get access to the entire Kindle Unlimited like library. You can almost rent it and then return it. So you're paying a monthly fee, but you can read as much as you want, hence the name Unlimited. And before we dive into the actual recommendations, I do have a link for a free trial on Kindle Unlimited. So if any of these take your fancy, but you're just not sure if you want to like commit, you can use the link below and just try them out. Maybe even just read one or two and see what you think. I also just got the cutest new Kindle case, okay? Thriller girly through and through, but I mean, come on. And I have actually read Fourth Wing, so nobody come for me. Like, I actually have read the book and very much enjoyed it, and it's just the vibe. There's just something about the whole dragons. Anyway, the case is from Burger. I was very kindly gifted it, and I would highly recommend their stuff. The Kindle case is very well built. It's very convenient, and I also got a phone case as well that's kind of like similar. So yeah, this is in no way an ad, but I do have a discount code if you're interested, so I will leave that as well, but again, not an ad. So today I have for you 22 thriller book recommendations on Kindle Unlimited, and some of these are by the same author, so I've kind of grouped these together. The authors that I'm going to talk about as well, most of their books are on Kindle Unlimited. Like, if they're an author where a couple are, the majority of the time their whole backlist is, but take that with a pinch of salt. Sometimes it doesn't apply. And also as well, huge caveat, this is on Kindle Unlimited in the UK. It does differ slightly in the US. I think they're like very much aligned, maybe like 80% aligned, but there will be books that you can get in the US on Kindle Limited and not in the UK, and vice versa, so it's probably worth just having a quick search. So when I hit Kindle Limited, I hit John Marrs. He is the king of thrillers and quality thrillers as well. He is just fantastic. I've never rated any of his books low. I've read the majority of his backlist, not all of them. I would love to read all of them and give you guys an author spotlight, but he has, I think it's between like 10 and 12, so there's quite a lot to work through. He also has some that are speculative thrillers, which isn't as much to my taste as his psychological thrillers, so I feel like that's what's been putting me off finishing his backlist, but I will at some point. So there are 3 of his books I'm going to tell you about. The first one is Keep It in the Family, and for me this is his most underrated book. Like the others I see a lot of talk about, this one not so much, but it is so good. I'm going to caveat as well that it is a darker thriller book from John Marrs. The majority of them are dark, they are on the dark side. However, this one is particularly dark. We're talking like bodies in suitcases dark. So this follows a married couple who buy a brand new house to renovate. It is literally like falling down, and they buy this house, they move in, and they're doing all these renovations. They're very excited. They're like, And then they find like etchings in the skirting boards and like noises coming from the attic and just like really not good stuff. Their parents are also helping them with the renovation, and it all just gets really messy. Next is probably John Marrs' most popular book, and probably my joint number 1. It is What Lies Between Us, and I just feel like you can't go wrong with this book because anything you're looking for in a thriller book, this has it. So it follows the concept of a woman who has her elderly mum chained up in the attic of their home, and the mum just like willingly gets into these shackles and just stays there, and you're thinking like, what could she have possibly done that is that bad that she just willingly takes these handcuffs every single night? Like, surely that's not even like something realistic that would happen. And then it dives into their backstory. It's told from both of their points of view, and it just goes to places that you wouldn't expect. So this is probably one of my number 1 Kindle Limited recommendations. I still can't believe this is on KU. And the final John Marrs book I'm going to tell you about is his latest release. It has literally just come out, but I loved it. This is everything I personally love in a thriller. It was like rich people drama, like the psychological of all psychological thrillers. Of course it is You Killed Me First, and I was very lucky to get an advance copy of this, and I've now been sent a final finished copy which John has signed, which is so very thoughtful. Let me show you. So he signed it saying, "To Francesca, I thought you might like a finished copy. Thanks so much as ever for all your support. With my very best wishes, John." Thank you. So this follows a woman who wakes up in a burning bonfire, you heard that right, and then flashes back 10 months before, and it's like the lead up to the events that took place for her to be in this burning bonfire. But we don't know who it is, like we don't know whose point of view that we are hearing at the start of this book. So it follows these 3 women, and Liv moves into Margot and Anna's neighbourhood, and they're basically the definition of frenemies. Like, they're friends, but they're not friends. Tensions are built, money isn't a problem, they basically just fuck with each other, and it's just the best time. The next author I'm going to talk to you about, I don't actually have any of her books in a physical copy, which is just depressing, honestly. I think I might order them because they are brilliant. So it is the one and only Lucinda Berry, and she is a registered doctor, so her mental health representation is just phenomenal in all of her books. Her most popular book by a landslide, the one that people always talk about, is The Perfect Child, and I really did enjoy this and would recommend it, but it's not my favourite of hers, not at all. So this one follows a couple, and one of them is a surgeon and one of them is another healthcare professional. I'm not sure exactly what her job title is, but this surgeon has been working with this girl who's been brought in. She's been abandoned by her parents, and the married couple, they can't have kids, so he decides slowly over spending more time with her that he's going to foster her and adopt her. So this girl, she's 6 or 7, is brought into their family unit, and everything is just great. She is the child from hell, and they are thinking, how did she go from this really sweet girl in a hospital to what she's doing now? But of course, in these situations, the husband doesn't believe the wife when she's giving these reports of the child misbehaving. Thinking about it literally just now, it's quite similar to The Push, if you read that, in terms of it's not twisty, it's more just like emotive, and is a horrible situation that you find yourself being like, what would I even do? So the majority of this author's books are on Kindle Unlimited, as I mentioned. I've also read Saving Noah, which was just absolutely excruciating for good and bad reasons. There's also When She Returned, which was like a cult style book from Lucinda, but the next two I'm going to tell you about were my favourites. So we've got The Best of Friends, and this follows 3 women who've been friends their whole lives, and they all have a son within like a year of each other, so they're all kind of growing up all together. It's all so wonderful and nice and lovely, until one day there is an accident that all the boys are involved in, and it leaves one of them completely unalived, one of them in a coma, and one of them that is just too shocked and like traumatized by the events he just doesn't speak anymore. So you're thinking, what could have possibly happened? Like, what were the motives, what were the intentions? And this one really, it kind of got me. Like, I was feeling a bit about it at the end, and yeah, I just really enjoyed it. Definitely a recommend. And then the next book is called The Secrets of Us. So it follows 2 foster sisters. They grew up together, but they are not biologically related, of course, and one day one of them is admitted into a psychiatric unit, and the other sister is like, huh, what? And basically she is like a lawyer and tries to help her get out of this psychiatric unit and just add some weight to the story. And it's kind of their journey of like what happens, how they grew up. They had a very traumatic set of circumstances growing up as foster sisters as well. And as I say, Lucinda is just so good at putting like real depth behind her characters, and the mental health representation always being like fantastic. I literally can't recommend her enough. Then next is an author that's quite new to me. I've only read 2 of her books, but they are all on Kindle Limited, and it is A.R. Torre. So the first book I read by this author was The Good Lie. I read this about a year ago, and I was just like, yeah, that's good, like just a solid thriller. So I didn't really feel like motivated to go and read the rest of her backlist. But then recently I picked up The Last Party and absolutely loved it. This was a 5-star from me. I've been talking about this quite a lot recently over on my channel. However, I can't stop because it was that good. So this follows a woman, she's just absolutely bonkers, there's no other way to put it, and she's obsessed with this serial unaliver who is behind bars, and she's just like dramatically trying to get his attention. Like, she'll do anything, literally anything, to get his attention, including plotting against her own family. So her family are definitely in danger. This was just like so well told, and it's hugely motivated me to go and read the rest of this author's books. I know Hayley Hughes is a huge fan of this author as well, so she was the one that kind of inspired me to start reading, and here I am now, about to start a backlist. So next, another author in which literally every single one of their books is on KU, which is just brilliant, as she has a backlist of 22+ psychological thrillers. We all know who I'm talking about, and it of course is Frida McFadden. So if you want a more in-depth of which of Frida's books that you should read apart from the ones I'm going to tell you about here, I will link her full ranking video. Just caveat, it does not include her most recent 3 books, I believe. So The Co-worker, The Teacher, The Boyfriend, and The Crash. No, it does include The Co-worker. So I filmed this video about a year ago, so those are her releases that have come out since, so of course they are not included. So these are the ones I'm going to tell you about. So of course the absolute it book is The Housemaid, and I would definitely recommend this. I actually reread it recently and gave it 5 stars again, so what does that tell you? If you haven't read it already, definitely give it a go. I'll quick fire through these Frida books because I'm conscious that I talk about them quite a lot. So in The Housemaid, we have Millie, who is a live-in nanny for this family, and she's basically being gaslit into thinking that these weird behaviours are normal. And one day she goes up to her attic bedroom and realises it only locks from the outside, and she's like, what a pickle I am in. Next is Never Lie, which is a fantastic like wintry themed thriller, and it follows this couple who go to this house that they really want to buy, and then they get trapped in a snowstorm there without the estate agent. Like, it's just chaos. So they just kind of stay there because they have no choice, and then there's like half-eaten food in the cupboards and the paintings are moving, and they're like, is this house haunted? Like, I don't think I want to buy this anymore. And then we also have Do Not Disturb, which is a fantastic, definitely the most underrated book of hers, and it follows this woman who unalives her husband within like the first 5 pages of this book, and you're just there like, go queen, like what's he done? And then she decides to go on the run, as you would, and ends up being kind of derailed and has to stay in this like dodgy motel, the Baxter Motel. It's giving big Bates Motel vibes, and is also like a really good twisty book. That's all I'm gonna say. It's twisty. We love a twist. And then the other couple that I thought I'd mention are One by One and The Perfect Son. These are both worth the read as well, but as I say, I can't go through every single one of Frida's books, so if you want to know more, there's like everything like what they're about in the full Frida wrap-up video. So next up, we all know I've been reading quite a lot of Mary Kubica recently, and some of her books are on KU, but not all. So one that is Every Last Lie by this author, but honestly, this is probably the least favourite of her books that I've read so far. So I'm not sure I would recommend it for any other purpose than the fact you want to read all of Mary Kubica's books, but I mean, it is free on KU, so it might be one of those that you can read it for a little bit and just see. For me, the ending of this was just really unsatisfying, honestly. Like, the rest of the book wasn't bad, but the ending was like, what? And then also Pretty Baby is on there as well. This one I actually really did enjoy. This follows a woman who sees this girl at one of the subway underground stations in Chicago, and she's holding this baby and she looks really rough, but she's not even that old herself. And over the few days when she's commuting, she kind of tries to make contact with her and be like, do you need anything? And then they finally manage to go for like a breakfast, and she's like, let me help you, like what do you need? Story goes from there. So those are the authors that I know of have multiple books on KU. These are kind of like standalone books where I'm not sure if the rest of the backlist are on KU or not. Might be worth checking, but these are just one-offs that I would recommend. So firstly, we have The Fall by Ellie Keel, and as far as I'm aware, this is her only book, so it would make sense why it's just this one on Kindle Limited. I know in April as well it is only 99p to buy, so if you don't have Kindle Limited, good chance to buy it. So this is a really interesting take on dark academia. So it's a dark academia book set in the 90s, and it follows these 4 scholarship students going to this very elite boarding school called High Realms. It's giving like The Secret History, but if it was a bit more digestible. Like, it's a similar concept. Different things happen, but it's a similar concept of it being in the 90s, etc. It's kind of like giving more rich people drama than Secret History though, honestly. Like, these kids are very, very entitled. It's kind of like if you were to get the Inheritance Games and make it like academic, like that kind of wealthy, and they just do whatever the hell they want. So this is probably a good one to put on your radar for like dark academia autumn. We've all been there. There isn't that many good dark academia books, so this one's probably worth a read. And then a book that I read recently and did read on Kindle Limited, but loved it so much I immediately ordered the physical copy. That's Not My Name by Megan Lally, and I've been seeing this quite a lot online the last few months, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna give it a go. Downloaded it. Turns out it is YA, but please hear me out, okay? Normally wouldn't read YA thrillers, like very, very occasionally, maybe if it's like a Holly Jackson or something that's been strongly recommended. But when I started, I thought, I'm just gonna give it a go, like I'm just gonna try, and I am so glad that I did. I gave it a 4.5, and I think it's one of my new favourites. So this follows a girl who wakes up on the side of the road and she's completely lost her memory. So luckily a policeman or police person is driving by and take her to the local sheriff's department, I guess, because they're in America. And she's like, I don't know my name, I don't know anything. And then luckily her dad finds her, walks into the police station and is like, no, this is my daughter, here's a birth certificate, etc. And she goes home. So she's like, thank God, till he starts acting super weird. Then we also have another point of view of this guy who's in school and his girlfriend has gone missing, and everybody thinks that he unalived her. This also had like quite emotional ending. Like, books don't tend to get me like in the feels. I mean, I didn't cry, but that's because I probably will never cry at a book, but it's still it was still really sad. And of course, with it being by A, it was a super easy read. Like, this was just what I needed at the time to just like pick up some pace with my reading. And then next we have The Echo Man by Sam Holland, and I really don't know why I haven't read the sequel to this, because it does have a sequel, and this was absolutely fantastic. Again, I gave this 4.5, and it follows a infamous serial unaliver who is copying the crimes of other serial unalivers one by one. So like, he takes the MO of like a really famous serial unaliver and unalives somebody. God, I hate censorship. Or like in that certain way, and then he picks another serial unaliver and is like, no, I like their moves, and like continues to go through them all. Like, he's just absolutely crazy. This one is really dark, like, I'm not gonna lie to you. This one even had me a little bit like, yikes, I think I need a little rom-com after this. But the main narrative follows Jess, whose husband was one of the victims of this serial unaliver. She decides to take it into her own hands, work out what's going on, you know the drill. There's also a little romantic subplot, so Fran was very happy. Next we have The Maid's Diary by Loreth Ann White, and I do know actually that a lot of this author's books are on Kindle Limited. I've not read any more than just this one, but I probably will, actually thinking about it. I so enjoyed this, and this was probably like her most popular, especially at the time when I read it, and this is the one that people were talking about. But I know that there's another few titles which are equally as promising. So with The Maid's Diary, think like rich people drama, but like to the extreme. So it follows Kit, who's our female main character, and she goes into this house of this extremely wealthy person, and she's basically goes snooping, like, she knows she shouldn't, but she just can't help it. Like, she wants to find out the secrets of these wealthy people. And then there's another point of view of a female detective who is investigating this crime where a car has crashed, there's bodies, there's blood, it's all very... And then these timelines kind of like eventually link back together. The tagline on the back is, she has more than the keys to her clients' houses, she has their secrets. Very highly recommend. So next up is The Holiday by T.M. Logan, and this is perfect for like the upcoming spring summer season because it is a vacation thriller, which I have rarely seen done well, and T.M. Logan is probably one of the only people to have done this well, and I feel like it's because he's a thriller writer first and he's just set it at a summer destination as opposed to trying to write a holiday thriller. So not all of this author's books are on KU, but the ones that I have on my list to read next that are on Kindle Limited are The Mother and The Curfew. These both sound brilliant, and they're both some of his newer releases as well, so I'm going to give them a read. But this one, of course, is also on Kindle Limited, and it follows this couple who the husband is having an affair with one of the people that's also on the holiday with them. So like this like big family, like 2 or 3 families, they're all there, they're all having a great time, but it's just like deception after deception. As well, apparently this has also been turned into a TV show, and when I talk about this I do get a lot of people being like, actually I think I've watched that. Definitely recommend reading the book if you haven't. And then before I tell you about the final thriller, we know I am absolute Laurie Gilmore trash at this point, so I wanted to mention that the Pumpkin Spice Cafe and Cinnamon Bun Bookstore are both on Kindle Limited. These are the first 2 books in the Dream Harbour series. That is just, yeah, it's just a guilty pleasure series. You'll read it and you'll just be like, yeah, they were good. That's it. There's also The Christmas Tree Farm and The Strawberry Patch Pancake House, which are not on Kindle Limited yet, but these were the first 2, so I imagine at some point they may go on as well. I know there are quite a lot of romance books on KU, but I mainly read romance by the same authors because I like it when I'm in their world. So like the Abby Jimenez, Yours Truly series, Cinnamon Bun Bookstore and Pumpkin Spice Cafe series by Laurie Gilmore. Those types of vibes, I'll just read them all the way through. Don't tend to branch out into different romance authors because I probably read romance like once every 6 weeks, so when I do it's probably just to dive back into the same world. And then the final book on Kindle Limited which I'm going to recommend is No Exit by Taylor Adams. I'm not really sure what this cover is giving because I don't feel like it represents the book very well, and probably if I hadn't have heard about it from elsewhere, I probably wouldn't have picked this up, but it's just so good, like, trust me. So this follows a college student who's stranded in a blizzard at a service station. She goes in and there's only like 3 or 4 other people there, and she's like, well, guess this is us for the night. And she kind of tries to get to know them, and she's just, you know, making small talk. And then she goes outside to get something and finds a girl locked in one of their vans, and she's like, well, it has to be one of these people, we're the only people here. So she tries to work out which one of these people she's just made friends with has a young girl locked away. So this was very tense, as you can imagine, quite an emotional ending, and it was just so satisfying, like the way this played out, and I was guessing about this a few times. So those are all the thriller books on Kindle Limited that I would recommend. If I've missed any off this list that need to be added, please let me know in the comments. I'm always looking to add more, but in the meantime those are 22 thriller books for you to be reading. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I cannot wait to see you next time.